Good to Gumdrops. This Cap Report After Hours with a panel. The great Brandon McGee, the great Joy Simowitz, the great Liz Karanowitz, the great Johnny McKinney. We have a little bit extra more time to figure out what we need. What was kind of left on the floor at the. It was a spirited Capitol report in the talk a lot about Chris Murphy, a lot about Dick Blumenthal. Let's take a first clip about Ned Lamont, who basically said, let's follow this Blumenthal thing a little bit more. Let's see this first clip about Ned responding to the Blumenthal investigation, quote unquote. Watch this.
Look, stop it. I watched some of these hearings back and forth, yelling at each other. This is no way to run a government. And this shutdown is one more example of the dysfunction starting in the White House.
Yeah, but guys, that's where we find ourselves in politics right now. We find ourselves in the old days, we play off the get off my lawn guys, people who've never seen Midnight Run. When it was Weicker was doing something, or whether it was, they sat there, listened, and answered the questions as respectfully as they could. And the senators were respectful. It wasn't a performance. Now it's a performance. And we don't see this, thank God, in the Connecticut legislature. Perhaps we will start to see that when a Democratic witness comes in front of a Republican, and it'll look like that. I hope not, guys.
Look, they are our elected voices, right? Whether it's at the state capitol, whether it's at the federal capitol, whether it's in the White House, they are our voices. They need to look at us and take the lead from us. And many of the politicians over many years, and I'll give Donald Trump credit, he usually does have his finger on the pulse of the politics better than most. This problem that they're having now is all self-created. It's created because we started to reward folks that would go on social media and say the most outrageous things and really go after. We started to reward that. What should be happening during this budget shutdown is they should be in session. Every member of Congress should be required to be there. All of them should be doing it without pay, and they should all be required to hold 4-hour meetings each and every day to at least attempt to have some dialogue. Right now, those folks don't get rewarded. I entered into the 2017 budget, negotiated with the Republicans, kicked the governor out. The very next election, I went to a recount. A recount as the sitting speaker that did something, and nothing's been done in Connecticut history. Why? Because the voters are so polarized and so scared right now, they stay in their lanes, and we're rewarding politicians for do that, and we can't have it anymore. Yeah. It's hurting us.
Listen, when you're talking about the shutdown, the reality is Republicans in Congress voted to keep the government open. Democrats in Congress voted to shut the government down in the House, okay? No, that's what happened.
It's nuanced.
It's not. I mean, you either vote for a clean CR that continues Joe Biden funding levels, which is what the Republicans did, or you vote to shut the government down. On the Senate side, Republicans and some Democrats have crossed the aisle to open the government. The majority of Democrats have voted against that. When you look at the national polling, 65% of Americans believe that Democrats should not be able to shut down government because they don't get what they want. Of that, 53% of independents agree, and 43% of Kamala Harris voters agree that Democrats should not be in a position to shut down the government because they don't get what they want. So when we're talking about our politics,
I have to take a look at these numbers. These a lot of numbers.
She knows her numbers, Brandon. Brings the receipts.
When you're talking about the politics of
it's for me to
right?
look at.
I mean, you're right. People are going to retreat to their familiar corners. We don't have a national federal government that does what you did with Len.
That's right.
Okay? Yeah. It doesn't exist.
Cheers.
And so I think it's important to underscore that. And the governor is right. We don't do things in Connecticut the way that they do things at the federal level. But here's why. Yeah. Because we don't have the same fundraising requirements that you have to run for Congress, that you have to run for United States Senate. And I'm telling you right now, until we start to deal with how we fund campaigns in the United States of America, nothing is going to change.
It is about fundraising. And I used to say that, like, when Chris Murphy cut his deal with John Cornyn on gun control, if he had sent out a letter saying, I just went to the Senate floor and, fought Ted Cruz, he'd raise a lot more money than saying, hey, I just, cut a deal with the Republican. But, I mean, it's both parties.
Yes.
Yes.
And the problem is that if you're and I'm just going to use your party for a second.
Yeah.
If you're a Democrat, you cannot stand up and say something good about Trump. You cannot get up and say something about your party. Donald Trump just struck what could be a historic deal in the Middle East for long-lasting peace. not a single Democrat has praised him other than John Fetterman.
I was just going to say
John
Fetterman.
Fetterman is going to lose his primary when he runs for re-election because he has the ability to stand up and say, Pennsylvania is a diverse state. There's a lot of Trump voters. When I agree with Trump, I'm going to say so. And when I don't, I'm going to say so. And for that, he's going to lose.
I hope he
And the
doesn't.
Republicans will do the same thing if it were the
it's
opposite way. I'm
that's
not.
right, yeah.
No, I know, and I just sit here and I'm in the world of nuance, and it's like, you know, it's not so easy, and I'm being very transparent to give credit to a president who is intentionally attacking people, race and gender. It becomes difficult to say, yeah, good job, Mr. President. You're doing a great job. Thank you. After 2 years. And maybe, sure, it's not a lot of blood on his hand. We can talk about Biden and our party's responsibility in this as well. But to your point, I just, it's hard for me to even utter words, you're doing a great job.
Yeah, and
Well, I mean, you don't have to say he's doing a great job. You can say, if you agree with it, this Middle East peace deal is a
hands
great
down.
accomplishment.
Agreed.
That's not saying he's doing a great
agreed.
job
So-
overall.
agreed.
It's just saying on this thing, thank you.
John, to your point, and I want to level set so people know where I'm coming from. I did say when Biden was elected, he should sit down with Trump and pardon him for
That's
everything.
right.
And just put an end to it.
Yeah, you
The
did say that.
country had to heal.
And Trump should have pardoned
Yes.
Biden's son before Biden had to.
This craziness really does need to stop. But let's go through what Trump has done that I do appreciate. I think the agreement between the NAFTA agreement is a better agreement now. That was his first term.
Yep.
I do agree this settlement in the Middle East, if seen to fruition, will be absolutely historic. And I said yesterday in a social setting, Donald Trump was probably the only individual that can do that because of his erraticness, his erratical behavior. People don't know what he's going to do. Before Biden, Clinton, Reagan, Bush, they all stayed within the guardrails. He doesn't, which is bad in a lot of places, but also allows him to negotiate. So I will recognize those things. They are better. But when he's dead wrong and the voters are against him, why doesn't it stop?
Hey guys, there's a lot of like fun words in our business, in kind of inside words. One of my favorite ones is cattle call, right? I love the cattle call. Candidates are being summoned for a cattle call, and there's a group called Stand By New Hampshire, and they're having a cattle call, and they're bringing all the Democratic 28 presidential candidates up there, and guess who's going to be there?
Chris Murphy.
The Murph on
And we
November
predicted
12th.
predicted
November 12th.
that.
November 12th. It's not. Hopefully, it'll be snowing. He'll be standing out there in the snow covering his beard.
Liz
Nice
used to
little
drive.
beard, right?
Tom, I
Road
remember
trip.
somebody on this
Yes.
panel saying Chris Murphy would make a trip to New Hampshire
Yes.
in 2025.
Yes, he will. And here he is.
And he's going to.
And it's a cattle
And
call.
he's going to make his case, and I do believe Chris Murphy, he may not officially run for president, but he's certainly going to explore that run.
Yeah.
I still maintain there is no chance for a Democrat from the U.S. Senate or the House to be the Democratic nominee. It has to be a governor. And the question for the Democrats is it going to
And
be
a populist governor.
Is it going to be a progressive governor, Gavin Newsom, J.B. Pritzker, or is it going to be a more centrist, liberal, traditional Democrat governor? And I think the one to watch is Andy
Bashir.
from
He's
Kentucky.
he's up at the cattle call.
It can't be Shapiro because there's too many people still chanting "Free Palestine" after they're free, and Governor Shapiro's Jewish, and we know that's not going to work. It's got to be Bashir.
I do like Bashir, and Bashir is actually coming into the state of Connecticut to speak to the Democrats.
Democratic
But I also want to
Party.
put Spencer Cox out there, a Republican candidate. I was really moved by his words, not only after Charlie Kirk's assassination, but post that. I think we all need to force the candidates that represent us the best onto the political parties at this point, because I don't know that they're listening anymore. So the Republicans go with Spencer Cox, we go with Andy Bashir, and we put our best
Joe,
foot forward.
Spencer Cox he did an ad with his opponent out in Utah, which was and maybe it says something about Utah.
We need to reward
We don't
that,
we don't
though.
want to be Utah
No,
completely.
we don't.
I think Cox has been an outstanding governor, and just in that terms of leadership. And I think to the point that you're making, John, it is going to be a governor and not a senator. Yeah.
And Chris Murphy says that it's almost like a public service for him to sound the warning. We talked about it in the first block, to sound the warning alarm about Trump and what he believes is the end of democracy and authoritarian takeover. Does he risk becoming like a one-trick pony on that issue, or as my friend, former Governor Lo Weicker and Senator would say, over-egging his custard? You know, Google that and he went over it.
It's not a public service announcement. It is a put your money in my campaign announcement over and over and over and over and over again.
I totally disagree.
He's one of the leaders in Act Blue receipts. It's because he says inflammatory things that get him attention, that get him invitations to New Hampshire, and that maybe he and Pete Buttigieg can have a beard off.
Wow.
I think Buttigieg probably wins that one.
I would agree, but not with Kamala Harris.
All right, so you disagree. You disagree with that.
I totally disagree. I believe what Chris Murphy is doing is saying some things that people are saying in their quiet corners about what is happening in this country, and using his unique approach, his very direct, we say alarmist. I don't agree with that. I speak truth to power, and Chris has been doing that and speaking for many different types of communities who may not have a platform like Chris Murphy. And he's able to toggle between some of our older generation and some of our young aspiring advocates that are out there as well.
But he's speaking truth, his truth, to Republican power. He never spoke truth to generic power. He never stood up to any of the abuses in the Biden administration. In fact, in July, after the debate, Chris Murphy said Joe Biden's ready for this fight. He's fit as a fiddle. So I mean, look, I serve.
But
with
we're talking issues, John.
No, but Brandon,
We're not talking...
Brandon, I served with Chris. I remember Chris working with Jody Rell on stem cell research. He's really bright. He's really articulate. He's a really gifted politician. He is the guy I thought could have gone into the Senate and returned the Senate to what it used to be.
You said that to me privately,
But now,
John.
all he's saying is democracy's going to, he's been saying democracy's going to end every single day, and democracy's still strong, even though it's not in a great place. We're going to be stronger. He said the other day that Jimmy Kimmel taken off the TV was the worst thing that's ever happened in this country. Really? Worse than the Civil War? Worse than segregation? Worse than 9/11? I mean, come on. It's too much.
But again, going back to the word nuance, we're talking about, yes, we're talking about censorship, we're talking about free speech, we're talking about communities, my communities of color, who may not be able to sit here and pontificate about what's happening and he's not good and all of that.
But
these are issues that he's able to
speak up for
raise.
censorship when they took Trump off of social media? That's
They need to take him
censorship.
off again.
No, they don't, Brandon.
But you see the underlying problem that we're having within these discussions, and I do agree with Brandon that Murphy is speaking the truth. I have the same fears, and I've spoken them quietly. And I spoke them quietly also when Biden was in. So Murphy's saying it. Maybe if he wasn't raising money off of it.
Clock's running out.
If he wasn't raising money off it, there'd be credibility.
Lots more to talk about, guys. Quick break to pay some bills. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Party's gone far right.
Hey, guys, we're back with the panel. A lot to kick around still in the remaining couple of minutes we have on the panel. Hey, guys, there was a press conference last week, Steve Harding and a bunch of the Republican lawmakers about transparency, probably brought on by the federal investigation into Senator Doug Harding and some pass-through dollars. McCrory. Yeah, we talked about, we got a pretty heated discussion on the panel. Here's what Harding got kind of excited. What's what he said here?
When we started looking into these other organizations, some of them very good organizations that do, I'm sure, great work in the state of Connecticut, but many others, like Jeep Enthusiasts of Connecticut, for example, are receiving $5,000. You have Democrats that literally herniate themselves in this building to get in front of a microphone every time there's a potential federal cut that isn't even finalized. But meanwhile, they have no problem handing out $5,000 to Jeep Enthusiasts of America. They have no problem handing out $250,000 to organizations that aren't even registered with the state of Connecticut. This is taxpayer money. This is hard-earned money of the people of this state. Someone has got to get a grip on this, and it's the only us here in the House and the Senate and Republicans that want to do anything about this.
We track them. I don't think we track them enough. A lot of this comes in late in the day from the legislature. But we're not going to let this continue. We're going to sit down. We're going to have auditors. We're going to go after these not-for-profits in the sense of getting to know who they are. I want to see what their financials are and make sure that they're legitimate and for real. Like about 99% of them are.
We're laughing on the
Fired
panel.
up,
We're
ready to
laughing.
go.
We're laughing on the panel. We're gonna like spot circle Paletta back there, going like, "I own a Jeep. I own a Jeep.
Jeep
Stop the Jeep.
enthusiast.
Stop with the Jeep. Hey, you can't kill Jeep owners out there for $5,000.
Jeep wave.
God.
Jeep wave,
Jeep,
yeah,
Jeep,
yeah,
Jeep,
with the
right?
ducks.
Life is good, right? All those Jeep guys have the life is good stuff on the back.
I got rid of my Jeep.
Oh, that's right. Okay, no Jeep guys. All right. So where do we want to go on this? Come on, Paletta's letting his hair. Not Paletta. I mean, Harding's letting his hair on fire.
Look, I think that
Doesn't have much to light.
The governor has an opportunity, in my view, to sit down with the Republicans who put a proposal on the board, right? I mean, let's not forget, Vin Candelora, the House Republicans, put a proposal on the board that would have done exactly what the governor is suggesting we need to do. So in my mind, you want to talk about working across the aisle, sit with Vin, sit with Steve, have a conversation about what you guys can agree on and work together on it. Yeah. What is the number one way you squash these issues? By bringing your opponent in and having these conversations and everybody coming to the table and agreeing on something. I mean, look, the proposals are not radical. The amendment that Vin ran last session, I think it was last session, was to require that there's transparency for the secondary payee, if you will, right? So if a nonprofit receives the revenue and then they go and provide it to someone else, that there has to be transparency on that third party end. We do that if you are a candidate and you have to report to the State Elections Enforcement Commission, you have to report secondary payees. Why are we doing that for our campaigns and we're not doing that for these millions and millions of dollars that are going out to nonprofits? And the other piece of the bill is if you're a legislator, you're requesting an earmark, you stand by your earmark and you explain why and where it's going and why it's so critical. These are not like revolutionary concepts, you guys. This is easy stuff for the governor to come to the table and say, you know what, I agree. And I'm going to give her credit where it's due. Governor Rell was a leader on these issues, and she had to be. She had to be, and she had to right the ship. And a lot of those things and the standard practices that she put in place have eroded largely under Dan Malloy and again now under Ned Lamont. He has an opportunity to take my governor, Jody Rell's lead here, and follow in her footsteps and restore some good government standards to what is sadly becoming corrupted again.
Joe, before you go, I just want to ask you a question because I think the governor has to do this because this wasn't his doing, but the blowback's going to be on the governor, right? We're going to hear Republicans running on Ned Lamont corruption.
100%, yes.
I think, and I want your comment on this, I think the governor will reach a deal with the Republicans. I think Matt Ritter will reach a deal with the Republicans. I think the reason this doesn't get done is because the Senate Democrats.
100%.
Yeah. I plead the fifth. No, I really don't know how it shakes out. I do believe Vinny and Matt have the working relationship to where they'll have the discussions. I'm just not clear enough on how the Senate relationship is and where it is. Yeah. But it really is a no-brainer. And going back to you raving about Governor Rell.
I will never stop.
I don't think you should. I really don't think you should. And let's also call out the person who threw the flag on all this going on was a former Governor Rell staff person that happens to be at DCD now that threw the flag and said something doesn't look right here.
Right,
Former
guys.
Governor Rowland's staff.
Right, guys. So we're all out in the community. Like we go to barbershops. We go to supermarkets. Anyone care about the Costas trial? Is people talking about it yet?
No.
I'm going to say something that's probably going to bother a lot of people, but I'm used to that. The reality is this matters in the building. I'm going to say to the public, and I've seen this in polling and focus groups and all of these things year over year over year, the public largely believes all politicians are corrupt anyway.
Correct.
And so they are not going to look at this and go, oh, that's a novelty, right?
Yep.
I mean, they think, and this is why when everybody, oh, Donald Trump did this, Donald Trump did that, they think all politicians are corrupt.
Yeah.
And there's no discerning between parties or, it doesn't matter. And so, it is frustrating for people who care so deeply about the tenets of our government and making sure that we do right by the people who are paying the way here. But by and large, they just believe all of this is corrupt anyway. And so I think it will matter in some legislative districts if you have an an incumbent who voted against some of these measures. I do think that that's fair game. But by and large, the problem is the connective tissue between Ned Lamont and these issues. You're right. That is a proof point that has to be made in order for this to be something that voters can easily consume. Remember, you're talking to voters in 6 seconds.
It's a complex
15
trial.
seconds and 30-second increments. There's so much to explain, and
right.
we've seen.
We
these
saw that
ads.
last gubernatorial election. Bob Stefanowski's numbers went down when
This
he
is
went
not the
on
last time we're talking about. Hey guys, quick break to pay some bills. We'll be right back. We're back, guys. Hey, we had a busy capital program, and this is the last block of this after-hour show where we kind of basically figure out stuff that we didn't talk about that I think is interesting because, quite frankly, it's my program. Hey, big article in article, and the panel doesn't really know where I'm going with any of this, which is pretty good, though.
It's
so,
fun.
hey, the big article in the Hartford Business Journal about, we all know 55 Elm Street, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, now it's going to be luxury apartments. The question for the panel is, would you buy an apartment that was George Jepsen, former Attorney General's office, and would you make your bedroom the part where he slept, where he worked? Would you sleep in George Jepsen's office?
I got to tell you, I was instantly going to say yes, but
I'm
now
out.
that you explain it, I'm not sure.
But
I'm
he
out.
can't even go
Wait,
there.
I'm
did
out.
you
I
say
can't.
George Jetson or
Jepsen.
George
Jepsen.
Jepsen?
George
I was
Jepsen.
thinking move, and
No,
no.
There you go.
We all
So,
went in
okay,
different
so you
movies.
would sleep in his office.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Or would you rather have it be your living room to know that George kind of hung out there, Carla
You're
Jello?
making it weirder.
That's like his thing, though. Are you really surprised that he's making it weirder?
And by the way, it was also the treasurer's office was there. Would you sleep in Denise Napier's office?
Man alive.
Oh.
You know who didn't have that office? Susan Beisowitz.
Susan Bryce?
Not yet.
Oh boy. Oh.
That's
Yeah, I'm reevaluating all.
They now
everything
have
about
shared
purpose.
co-working spaces,
yes.
and so I probably would.
So I know you were probably on that GMO bill. I think you were probably that. McKinney was a GMO, but there's a legislation that passed in California to ban
Of course it passed
Teflon pans for cooking.
How are we ever going to make scrambled eggs?
And it's up to Newsom's desk. The question is, will he sign it or will he veto it? If he signs it, he goes right into the woke liberal thing. But here's the deal. The chef community is basically split. Half of the chefs, Thomas Kelleher, the French Laundry, he's like, no, we need it. We need the nonstick cookware. Andrew Zimmerman on the other side, a bunch of chefs going, look, it's killing us. Yeah. We really don't need it. Cast iron, I bet you're a cast iron guy.
We have
McKinney,
no nonstick pans in our house.
I'm a cast iron.
It's got the PBA stuff in it. It's cancer-causing. Cast iron and stainless
nonstick,
steel is all you
the
need.
Key with the stainless steel is you have to make sure the water ball bearings around. Then it's hot enough. People don't heat it.
People don't know this.
Just
Tom
Google it.
Tom is a chef in his home. He is a.
I wouldn't go that far, but
That's-
yes,
that's
I'm
what I
My
hear.
wife, we
That's
probably
what I
need
hear.
to sign up a
But
course
But
here.
to your
Tom
point,
can pontificate on this
I don't
issue.
think they should ban it, but they may want to put warning labels. I'm a big believer in buyer beware.
What do you
Warn
use,
people
Tom?
about the
But
potential.
I use nonstick rarely, but mostly cast iron and carbon steel and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But any fundraising number stands out with you? Ryan Fazio, Aaron Stewart, Luke Bronin put a big number up.
Luke's number was
Didn't it
big.
say
I've been
1 million?
I've been in congressional races. $1.2 million is a lot of money.
Yeah.
I think the fact that now Larson's playing catch up to him a little bit on the fundraising side is probably not great for the congressman. But on the Republican side, they're
More
chasing.
to come.
they're
More to
chasing
come.
money
That'll do it
from
for California
these
After Hours. Let's see
Bronin's
if McKinney
wealthy
can
kid
basically
from
get one in
Greenwich.
here. What do you
Of course
think?
he's going to raise money.
Let's do it.
Come on, McKinney.
Oh, that was
God,
close.
that was close.
Much closer.
You leaned into it. You leaned into it.
You were like a
You
foot
leaned
away
into
from
it.
that.
Oh my God! Dunked it. He was like.